What's up guys, hope you guys have all been well and staying safe. Welcome back to another video. So recently you guys have been asking me quite a lot actually what I recommend as far as a first watch, specifically a first dress watch, and most of the time these questions stem from the worst of the watch industry videos. I always get those comments saying, hey man, instead of like hating on all these watches, why don't you just like recommend one you actually think is good instead of just being a hater? This is me actually making a video on the top 5 budget dress watches under $500. Now I get why I've gotten this question. Some of us are maybe in school, some of us are maybe starting in the workforce, and some of us maybe just want something a little bit more classy for a formal event, a little bit nicer than just your G-Shock, right? But regardless, I think a dress watch is something everybody should have in their collection, whether you're into sports watches, divers, chronographs, whatever it is, you need a dress watch just for that one formal occasion you're going to go to once in a while. So today is 5 excellent dress watches I think provide excellent value for money, and this is all $500 and below. I think in the future I'll be increasing the price range and therefore finding more and more watches for you guys. But for now, $500 is our budget, so this is the top 5 dress watches under $500. Number 1 is the Seiko SNK L23. So this is not the only Seiko 5 that I would recommend. There's many watches in the Seiko 5 lineup, all the way from $80 to about $150. They're great starter automatic watches. In fact, one of my first automatic watches was a Seiko 5, I believe. It's either the first or the second. Actually, yeah, it was the second, because my first automatic watch was an Orient Esteem with the open heart, I believe, and that's what got me into automatic watches. But anyway, so the SNK L23 features a black dial with Dauphine hands, a small amount of lume applied. You're looking at the watch size being 38 millimeters, which in my opinion is the very sweet spot as far as dress watches go. Anything smaller, it's maybe a bit too much on the small side. Anything larger, it gets into kind of sports watch territory. So 38 is that sweet spot. But really with the Seiko 5 lineup, you can't go wrong. Keep in mind that the Seiko 5 lineup is constantly growing. Like, I'm just looking at a bunch of the models right now. There's already a few that I've never seen before. I haven't looked for a Seiko 5 in probably a couple months, and there's already some that I have never come across. So it's a consistently growing lineup. I think the most recent addition to the Seiko 5 lineup was how the SKX lineup, or sorry, I should say the SKX has moved over to the Seiko 5 lineup. And by the way, just so you know, the 5 in Seiko 5 actually means 5 conditions that Seiko set out to accomplish when making this lineup. And they are self-winding automatic, which by the way, these movements are all in-house, which again, amazing value for the money. Resistance to water, day, date, complication, all in one window, a recessed crown for protection, and a durable case. So all this for about the $100 mark. Honestly, it's pretty hard to beat. There's just so much value for such a low price point. Moving on. The Orient Bambino. So this is another famous classic among watch enthusiasts. When you talk about a cheap budget dress watch that doesn't break the bank but still looks amazing on your wrist, the Orient Bambino always comes to mind. So this watch specifically attempts to recapture sort of the old world charm that many small watches from the 1930s and 40s and 50s used to have, and then put it in a more modern package for a reasonable price, making it the perfect dress watch to start your dress watch collection. There's just about any color you'd want. My personal favorite is the FAC 00009W. This is the white dial with the Roman numerals and the blue baton hands. You have so many combinations to pick from, man. Like, you got blues, you got blacks, cream dials, white dials, open heart complications, etc., etc. So of course, the more luxurious the features you get, the more you're going to be paying. This model starts off at around $150 and then creeps up to about the $300 mark when you start looking at the models with the steel bracelet and the open heart and things like that. So just keep in mind, the more you want, the more you're going to pay for, obviously. But with that said, you're sure to find a sharp looking Bambino well within your budget to suit your dress watch needs. Number 3, this is a personal favorite of mine, the Seiko Sarb 035 and 033. I say that because they're essentially the same watch with different dial colors. So this is probably one of the most popular and well-known Seiko dress watches there is, and the reason is they're so versatile. You can get them for around the $400 mark, so we are kind of creeping up to the top of our budget, but I had to include this because this is a favorite amongst watch collectors. We'll take a look at some specs right now. You're looking at a 38 millimeter diameter, again, sweet spot, 20 millimeter lugs. The watch is 11 millimeters thick. It'll slide under any cuff. The crystal is sapphire. That's awesome. You got a little bit of lume on the indices. It's got the 6R15 movement, a very well-known, well-respected movement, accurate to plus 25, minus 15 seconds a day. Water resistant to 100 meters. That's awesome. So you can keep this watch on. You can go shower with it. You can do whatever you want. You just leave it on your wrist and you go do your dress watch tasks and then go shower right after. Got a display case back again, just adds to kind of the luxurious element of the watch. So really, what's not to love? On top of that, it comes with a white dial and a black dial. Like I said, the 035 and 033 each refer to a different dial color. If it were up to me, I'd go with the black one just personally. I think black is a little bit more versatile, a little bit more classy than the white, but the choice is yours. All right, the Seiko Presage. Now, when I say Presage, this is referring to an actual lineup of watches. The original watch in this lineup was the Seiko Cocktail Time, the Sarb 065, I believe it is. And that was the original kind of very light blue dial with the radial sunburst pattern. So I'm going to talk about the Presage lineup in general because they're essentially all, for the most part, the same watches with maybe different complications, different dial colors, different numerals. For the most part, they're the same thing. They're all based off the same principal design of the original Cocktail Time. So I'm talking about the actual Presage models. So I'm not referring to the original Cocktail Time because those are discontinued. Just so you know, if you want to know the difference and how you can actually differentiate between the two, the original Cocktail Time says automatic in cursive on the dial, and then the new Presage says Presage in bold. I personally own a Cocktail Time. I just decided to go with the original that started it all, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with anything from the Presage line, and you actually get way more variation as far as colors and things like that in the Presage because, of course, the Cocktail Time was only one model in one color and one option, basically. So aside from coming in a million different colors, and they're all gorgeous, by the way, they're absolutely stunning. There's deep, deep blues, there's bright blues, there's deep reds, there's even greens now. They're absolutely incredible looking watches. There's honestly, I've never had a watch on my wrist that has looked as good as a Cocktail Time. It punches way above its weight class for the price. It looks like $1,000+ watch when in fact it's about half the price. Incredible looking watches. So they all come with the 4R35 movement inside. You're looking at a 23 joule movement, 21,600 vibrations per hour. It's got a 41-hour power reserve, a seconds hand with a hacking function. It's got a beautifully domed crystal that kind of refracts the light just amazingly. So as you kind of move the watch around in the light, you start to see this various bending effects of the light, very reminiscent of old school domed crystals from decades and decades ago. Very classic looking watch with modern twist and modern material and modern technology. Obviously, as you go look for the more expensive, more luxurious models like the open hearts and things like that, the price does go up, but you can find these for incredible prices on sale, $430 all the way to like $600 or $700. You really gotta just take a look at a watch that interests you in the lineup and just wait for an opportunity to get that at a good price. Okay, the final one of the 5, the Hamilton Jazzmaster Thin Line Automatic. And I say automatic because there is a quartz version which you should avoid. So we'll go with the automatic. So this one's definitely going to be maxing out the $500 budget that we had, but I absolutely had to mention it. The price does dip below the $500 mark when there's sales. It also can be a little bit above the $500 mark when stock is low on Amazon or things like that. But I had to mention it because this thing is a Hamilton classic. And by the way, all Hamilton reference numbers, they all are impossible to memorize. They're very long, just like Omegas and things like that. But it's the H385258111. It's got the ETA automatic 2892-A2 movement. It's a 40 millimeter case, so it's a little bit large. However, it makes up for it by being very thin at 9 millimeters. Will have no issue sliding under any cuff whatsoever, no matter how tight. It's a stainless steel case, open case back in the back, and a sapphire crystal. Water resistance is 50 meters. And this line, again, much like the Presage line that I just talked about, there's many different colors and many different models that you can pick from. Again, the price is going to change depending on how luxurious and the options that come with the watch. So you're just going to have to find one that fits within your budget. But for the price point, again, it's very hard to beat one of these watches. Very classic, very elegant, very thin. And there's really not much better you can do for the price point. Okay, so that was 5 dress watches, all for $500 and below. If you guys have any other suggestions as far as videos in this series, I can do sports watches, I can do chronographs, which I think I'll probably do at some point. And I think over time, we're going to be increasing the budget and just expanding our horizons more and see what kind of options we have in the watch world. But if you guys have enjoyed this video, please leave me a like and subscribe down below. Join the movement. We are growing very fast. And like I said, if you guys have a video that you'd like to see in this series as far as watches within which budget or whatever, sports watches, divers, whatever it may be, let me know down below. I think what I'll do is I'll pick what I'll do next based off the interest that you guys leave me below. So on that note, leave me a comment, guys. Always great to talk to you guys, and until next time, stay safe.